Hi. This is
Welcome. Go ahead.
It's Carolyn with DPL Surveillance Equipment.
And my name is Monty Henry, co-owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment. We're a full-service surveillance and security equipment company. Welcome, you guys. We have lifetime guarantees and warranties on all the products.
24/7, 365 customer sales support.
And we have the largest inventory of items that not only can you buy, but you can rent and lay away as well.
And this subject that we're going to be talking about today is called going off the grid.
Now, typically, when we talk about dropping off the grid, there's a lot of different things that come to mind for people, as far as people are concerned. And we want to try and make sure that we cover as many aspects of dropping off the grid as possible. Again, mainly because it means different things to different people. What are some of the things that come to mind, Carolyn, when someone talks about dropping off the grid?
Getting away from Big Brother, getting out of the rat race of the city, and moving to quiet zones in different city and different states.
Okay, now what are some of the reasoning or that would lead someone to even consider dropping off the grid, by the way?
Well, there's, if you're trying to get away from an abusive spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, parent, those are one of the reasons. The other reason is you just want to get back to earth. You want to live off the land and be, try your skills at being a survivalist and not have any digital footprint.
Okay, so we have a number of different reasons, right, depending upon who you are, what's going on. And in addition to that, a lot of people are kind of wary of the government agencies and taxing authorities, right, of the world, and they're getting sick and tired of intrusive governments and such, right?
Yeah, having the government and all these agencies with their nose in your business. Definitely.
Okay, so that would be a very good reason to drop off the grid, right?
Yes.
If you're just sick and tired of government agencies getting in your business, telling you what to do, what you can't do.
Yeah, there are good and bad reasons to go off the grid. The bad reasons are if you just want to, if you've done something wrong, illegal.
Go ahead.
That's not the right reason to go off the grid because you want to, let's say you kill somebody or rob somebody and you just want to get off the grid. That's not the reason because they will find you eventually. They will finally because they have access.
Okay, so there's a host of different reasons in terms of why people want to drop off the grid. And so moving away from why, let's talk about how you drop off the grid. Can you say anything about how someone could drop off the grid or some of the specifics about that?
Okay, let's say one is you drop off social networking. Get rid of your credit cards or anything that anybody can link to you. Let's say your email addresses, Facebook pages, Twitter pages, Pinterest, all of those.
Okay, now when you drop off the grid, as far as when you start to look at the social networking sites, you probably, is it true or does it make any difference in terms of whether or not you want to do all this, do this all at once or gradually over time? What would the differences be?
It would be gradually over time because people will notice that you're doing something that's out of character. So you do this slowly because if you do everything at one time, people are going to say, hey, he or she is up to something, and that's out of character for that person.
Okay, so slowly but surely I start to cut back on the amount of time I spend on Facebook and Twitter and the various other sites, right?
Right.
Now this is typically referred to as a digital footprint, right?
Yes, it is.
And speaking of such, there's a number of authors, experts, and different people who wrote about this. One particular book that you guys may find interesting is called How to Disappear, Erase Your Digital Footprint, Leave False Trails and Vanish Without a Trace by Frank M. Ahearn. That's Ahearn. And Eileen C. Horan, Horan as in Nancy. Frank Ahearn is he's a veteran. He's been doing this for a long time, you guys. So you may want to consider taking a look at that book. And Frank and I think Eileen are doing an excellent job in terms of talking about how to vanish.
And also there's they can hire a skip tracer to try to find the people that are trying to disappear or already have. That's her job. They're called skip tracers.
Okay, why would a skip tracer be a good resource, by the way?
That's their job, is to find people that have disappeared.
So if they've helped a lot of people find other people, then I think that's a good reason why they would be a good resource to go to in terms of how to disappear, right?
Yes. I think there was a gentleman who was a skip tracer, and he could make a lot of money by actually writing a book and telling the people who want to disappear how to disappear, because he's been in the business for so long. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's Frank M. Ahearn. Yeah, he's a 20-year veteran and a world-renowned skip tracer, investigator who specializes in finding people. So yeah, definitely you want to take a look at working with someone whose job it is to find other people, and then that way you have a pretty good idea in terms of what you need to do to not be found, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Another thing you can do is get rid of your credit cards, your video rental cards, everything that can link to you, your supermarket rewards cards, anything like that. You can give to a friend, and every few months you give it to a friend and constantly keep it moving.
Okay, and not all the people who drop off the grid are like just losers or deadbeats or something. There's I think Ed Begley Jr.
and Daryl Hannah. Daryl Hannah.
Right, they are celebrities, both of them. And they've actually done a lot of work and spent a lot of money and resources in terms of setting up their own houses, etc., and demonstrating various technologies that you can incorporate into off-the-grid living.
Yeah, like reserving rainwater in barrels.
Right.
Just getting your house off the grid, saving electricity, saving on your bills for your electricity and garbage, composting.
And also we have on our website under articles, there's some articles actually there's 4 articles we call Dropping Off the Grid, a growing trend in America.
Very informative.
And we have a YouTube video list, a playlist, where you guys can actually go to the YouTube playlist and take a look at some of the communities where people have actually gone and decided to set up themselves.
Yeah, there's one called Slab City, California, which is about an hour north of Mexico. And it's an old military base from World War II, and people have gone there to go off the grid. There's Missouri, there's Texas, and California, and Maryland.
Okay, so yeah, there's some. So these are actual places where a number of individuals have actually gone there and set up, and they vary. according to how sophisticated or whatever they need to be. So we need to keep in mind that depending upon the amenities that you want and all of the luxuries and conveniences, you can find various alternatives, various choices rather.
Yes, some people have even built their own house from the bottom up. They built their own house, or some people were living in school buses and RVs. People were making their houses out of straw, bales of straw.
Right. It all depends on your financial resources, your technical expertise, and there's a growing industry, a cottage industry around off-the-grid equipment and supplies and resources. So don't hesitate to take a look at some of the popular magazines and websites. There's lots of podcasts and, of course, information on YouTube in terms of how to set up your off-the-grid your site and get everything you need. And one of the places, Carolyn mentioned a number of different places. One of the specific places is called Terlingua, Texas. Terlingua, Texas. You may want to consider that one. That's 500, what is it? Let me see. I'll give you some specific information on that one. But look out, that's in the desert in Texas, it looked like. Surrounded by ruggedly beautiful terrain, at a high altitude and a distance from civilization that provides for some of the world's finest stargazing and plays host to two of the most celebrated and highly attended chili cook-offs in the country. So if you aren't ready to escape to the wilds of West Texas, at least plan a trip for the first Saturday of November, when both the Frank X. Tolbert and Wick Fowler Championship and the Chili Appreciation Society International cook-offs take place.
Yeah, you can also go visit these places if you're curious to see how they live and exactly what it's all about. You can go visit some of these places, stay for a day or two, and if you're really serious, you can live there for a year, and then they'll vote if they will enter you into their society.
And make sure, speaking of Terlingua, Texas, make sure to spend a night upstairs at the mansion. It's called Upstairs at the Mansion. It's a boutique hotel in the ruins of the century-old mansion owned by the founder of the Chisos Mining Company, CHISOS Mining Company. Or for more information, just go to terlinguacitylimits.com or www.chili.org. That's www.chili.org. Okay? Again, another destination, as Carolyn mentioned, is Slab City in California.
That's an old military base from World War II, and people are using that also.
It's only 190 miles southeast of Los Angeles, which is an hour's drive north of the Mexican border. In Slab City, you'll find hundreds of free spirits living in, as she mentioned, campers, RVs, and school buses. Right. World War II era military base. Very interesting setup. A little bit more rugged than usual, but there's a bunch of people who like the rough and tumble lifestyle where they get their hands dirty and you get a chance to work with nature, probably more hands-on, right?
Yeah.
That's near an area called Salvation Mountain, a complete village of mobile homes. You'll notice it came from the 2007 film Into the Wild, or a book, and also there's a book by the same name that inspired it.
Anyway, another thing you have to think of is your car. You have to get rid of your car.
Well, before we get to the car, I'm just going to briefly go over these destinations. There's a destination called Dancing Rabbit Eco Village. That's in Missouri. It's on 280 acres in Rutledge in northeastern Missouri. So that's Dancing Rabbit Eco Village in the heart of the Midwest. Or go to www.dancingrabbit.org. And then we're moving right along. Brighton Bush Hot Springs, a worker-owned cooperative promoting personal renewal. Brighton Bush Hot Springs, that's in Oregon, 50 miles south of Salem, Oregon. Relaxing pools and hot spots.
Hot springs.
Hot springs. You can go off the grid there. That's where they'll vote 50 to 7 members at that time. I don't know what it is now, but they vote on whether or not you're going to be included or not. So they may be a little bit more exclusionary. Let's see here. At the time when we wrote this blog, they were saying reservations were anywhere from $52 to $119 a night, depending upon the dates and accommodations. Now, speaking of, we're going to move right along. Carolyn was talking about tactics. What are some of the tactics? Because, as she mentioned, you have people who just want to get away from society, get back to nature, get off the grid. But for those who want to get rid of the old person, the old self, the old image of who they were, what are some of the things they need to be concerned about?
Like I said, get rid of your credit cards, anything that's linked. Your car. Let's see, what else?
Photographs.
Oh yeah, old photographs. Try and get them from your family members. If they don't want to give them up, then just keep the older ones and cut up the newer ones. Yeah, family members might not like that, but what else?
And what about phone usage, email usage, and stuff like that?
Oh, that also has to be cut off. You can use pay-as-you-go phone, throwaway phones.
Encrypted phones would probably be a good option, right?
Phones, yeah, and encrypted emails. You can go to a cyber cafe and just sign on for a few minutes and get off.
And there's something, the email service called Hush Mail.
Oh, there's Proton Mail too.
Yeah, Proton Mail, Hush Mail.
They're encrypted emails.
They're encrypted, so you can, if you have to correspond with people every once in a while, you may want to take a look at an encrypted service. And then there's a couple of browsers, web browsers, that allow you to go online and surf the internet. And you can use something called Zero Bank. You may want to Google it and make sure it's still active and working. And then there's something called Tor, Tor, web browser. They're famous for encryption. There's a few options, okay? And on our website, again, under articles, look for online privacy tools and tips, where we're going to show you how to encrypt your email, text messages, how to use web browsers. And there's a little bit to say, Carolyn, also about spam and emailing lists and such, right?
Yeah, also you can use payphones.
Payphones is a good option, right?
Yeah, and throwaway phones like you're a tourist or something.
And what about shopping?
Well, shopping, cash is king. So use cash as much as you can. Get all the money out of your bank accounts. Close your accounts. You can purchase things that you might be able to sell at your new location. Don't buy books. Let's say you're moving to Chile. Don't buy a book about Chile with your credit card. Use cash.
Right. So use a lot of cash. And there's a alternative currency that a lot of people have been talking about lately, like Bitcoin. I don't know whether you guys heard of it or not.
Very good idea.
But a lot of times you can use Bitcoin because it does keep a lot of those transactions from being identified as readily as they would be. So you may want to convert a certain amount of cash into Bitcoin, so you can use that particular type of alternative currency. as well.
And let's see. Oh, as far as making money, you can like become a farmhand where they just pay you cash every day.
Right. I'm pretty sure a lot of the communities would mind employing each other,
Yeah.
you and everyone else, so that you can understandably make as much cash as possible without worrying about some sort of paper trail.
And you can barter, of course.
And bartering is always a good option.
Yeah. Oh, you can change things you normally don't do. Let's say you don't smoke, you start smoking. You grow a mustache, grow your hair long, dye it. It's like things people do in Hollywood. Change their identity.
Also, what about misinformation?
Oh, like a trail. You leave a misinformation trail.
What does that mean? How would I use misinformation to help throw off someone?
You can say you're going somewhere and you're actually not, or you can lie.
Okay, so let's say in my instance, I can probably create or have someone create multiple profiles that are where I'm using my real name, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of the information, where I was born, what I like, where I vacation, a lot of that information can be falsified, intentionally falsified, right?
Oh, yes, and then you can call your gas agencies and tell them you have the wrong name, give them a different social security number, try and throw them off that way. Yeah, give them misinformation.
Okay, so these are a lot of very good options where you want to take advantage of throwing people off. The more time people spend chasing the wrong you, for instance, the longer it's going to take ultimately to find the real person. Okay? And again, don't hesitate to use the skip tracers, the people who actually job it is to find other people, because they could tell you what techniques they've employed.
Yeah, how to find people and how to do the go off the grid also.
Yeah, also, I think Frank Hearn mentioned incorporation. It looks like incorporation has some benefits, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, yeah, that's fine. Incorporation, usually, see, when you incorporate, you have some sort of entity that's going to act on your behalf without necessarily linking you directly. And a lot of times, you guys, corporations, they they're set up specifically so that I can do certain things without everyone knowing that I'm actually doing a lot of things. So you want to consult with your lawyers and legal professionals and such, but a lot of times corporations act on behalf of the people who actually run them. And it's a very good strategy in terms of how to do banking, how to transfer money around, how to buy assets, etc., because you can have like different corporations set up so that ultimately it gets very confusing in terms of who's actually doing what. So don't hesitate to look into a corporation as a way of buying different things, hotels, assets, transferring money around without identifying exactly who's doing what. So it's a good strategy, and look into it and see whether or not you can benefit from that one.
Yeah, you really got to plan this out. You just can't jump into it. You got to plan it, read about it, talk to other people that maybe have done it, go to the places and visit and see how they are living.
Right. And again, Frank Hearn's book, Frank Ahearn, How to Disappear, Erase Your Digital Footprint, Leave False Trails, and Vanish Without a Trace. Get that book and take a look at what Frank Hearn is suggesting, because a lot of people are actually dropping off the grid, and it's a growing movement, and because we hear about government agencies collecting data on its citizens without permission, and those databases get compromised and hacked into, right?
Yeah, and the Google, their collecting all this information on how you shop, what do you like, and that's really none of their business.
Right. So, and then let's see what else we want to cover. Now, because we are surveillance and security experts, let's talk about from the perspective of how easy it is to identify people. What happens, Carolyn, typically when someone needs to be tracked or traced, or how would you get into trouble with cameras, surveillance?
Oh, in areas where you go, you got to make sure there's no CCTV cameras that will take your picture, and then that can be handed over to the FBI, and they can say, oh, this person was here at this time. So you're gonna have to be, under the radar.
And trackers and such, what are some of the most obvious things we need to think about as far as how we can be tracked, traced?
Facebook, social media, your car, your shopping habits.
And your cell phone?
Oh yeah, your cell phone's a big one. Yeah.
So don't forget that the cell phone is basically a tracker that just happens to have a cell phone capability.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, people don't think about that, but it's right there. Every day you have it in your hand.
Right. And if you're running or have a situation where there's potential spouse abuse, one resource that you may want to look at, because we don't want people hauling around a bunch of kids from place to place, but there is a resource that you can call, I think 1-800-4-A-CHILD. That's 1-800, the number 4, A is an apple, child, CHILD, and ask about your options, what your options are for your safety and the safety of your children. Call before you leave if possible, but most certainly call someone if you or your children must flee. We do have some domestic violence related situations where we understand a spouse may need to leave quickly, and it could be a matter of life or death, so we understand that you may need to get out of there quickly. But let's take advantage of some of these resources just to make sure that we don't endanger everyone's life. At the same time, I think the National Domestic Violence Hotline is another good resource. 1-800, at the time, double check this on Google, but at the time that we composed this article, it was 1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233. And let's see. And then there's a place called, let's see if we can figure out how to integrate this into the conversation. There's a place called Sugar Grove Naval Facility, I think it is. And we deal with a lot of customers, you guys. They're electronically harassed. They call targeted individuals. Now, Sugar Grove, why would someone want to go to Sugar Grove, and how does that fit into the dropping off the grid thing? Well, let's take a look at this, okay? Sugar Grove, you guys, is a naval facility where the government does a lot of testing of wireless technologies. And what's happening is they actually have they have, how many acres do they have? It's called Sugar Grove Station in West Virginia. And again, it's a U.S. military base.
It has 80 homes, former naval base, nestled in 123 acres of the rolling hills of
rural West Virginia. Yeah. It's basically a self-contained community with tennis courts, baseball, diamond, and its own water and power systems. Okay? It also offers status-conscious buyers something unique to brag about, a history of involvement in covert U.S. data collection and eavesdropping. So, and the NSA, or the National Security Agency, was managing this particular facility for a long time before the government decided to sell it off. So now that the government is experiencing budget cutbacks, Sugar Grove is on the market. And there are a number of individuals and groups and organizations, including the
Off-the-grid people?
off-the-grid people. They're going to be looking at purchasing the 123 acres and setting it up so that if you want a well-established off-the-grid destination, go there and check it out and see. Because, again, with 80 homes and tennis courts and a lot of these things already set up, you can have some of the conveniences of a modern city or town, but at the same time, you can get away from because it's in a very rural, remote location.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So the purpose of Sugar Grove at once upon a time was to perform communications research and development for the U.S. Navy and the Department of Defense and various elements of the U.S. government. So cell phone coverage was completely, they try to do away with it completely because they don't want, again, interference as they convert and test out communications equipment of their own without the worry of someone snooping in also with cell phones and other different wireless technologies. And there's a 13,000 square mile national radio quiet zone. So again, when you have a 13,000 square mile national radio quiet zone, that's where you can, especially if you feel like you've been electronically harassed by the microwaves, satellite dishes, cell phones, you name it. This is how you get away over at Sugar Grove. So that's on the market, and I can't remember exactly. Let's see. Anyway, there was bidding going on as of like 2 weeks ago, and one winner who defaulted on their $11.2 million offer, they had the opportunity to buy it, but again, they didn't get their final funding or something. So there's a number of people who bid on it, but none have closed, as far as I know. But that could change because this is an ongoing situation. And the nearest city is Harrisburg, by the way.
Harrisburg.
Yeah, it's an hour drive to the northeast. The closest major airport is 160 miles away. So you're kind of remote, but the good news is you don't have to worry about all the things that normally you encounter in the big city. So how does that sound, Carolyn?
That sounds great to me. I would love to go visit one of these places for ourselves.
Let's see. And so we talked about incorporation. We talked about Sugar Grove, lie, to cover up your footprints, so to speak.
Few states that the quiet zones are in.
What about if you have an automobile and you want to get rid of your automobile before you go and drop off the grid? Any suggestions?
One is to set it on fire.
And what about leaving it somewhere where...
leaving it in the ghetto neighborhood where they will strip it and no one can find any trace of that.
And I think one guy went so far as one expert talked about long grain rice being put in the radiator.
So I guess the next person who started it up, they thought they're the one who messed up the engine.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting. Long grain rice in the radiator, and then something in the oil. You put sugar in the oil canister. Right.
So basically, you're trying to destroy the car, but you're going to let someone else destroy it for you, and that way that'll also help keep you from being associated with destroying this car yourself, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to plan this. This isn't something you just do tomorrow. Think about it one day and do it the next.
Right. Let's see. So, again, when we talk about living off the grid, there's a lot of people who are in the business of helping you with your. There's a thing called tiny homes. When you guys get a chance, look up tiny homes. There's a lot of builders out there. They will actually allow you to purchase materials and kits to set up your 200 by 200, 300 square foot home, or even bigger. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to put a mansion out on, in the desert somewhere. You don't want to bring all the same things that you were trying to get away from in normal society. You don't want to necessarily bring that into your off the grid environment. Right, go ahead.
You're trying to protect nature.
Right, trying to live in harmony with nature.
Yeah, in harmony, and try and be green and be a survivalist, and maybe even bring native plants back to the area that haven't been there. Live off the land, barter.
So look at some of the people who've actually set up homes, brought in solar technology, the panels, the generators, the batteries are getting more and more sophisticated all the time. So now you should be able to generate your solar power during the day and store it in your batteries, hopefully for longer periods of time as compared to before. So things are changing a lot. And some people, they have their laptops, they still have the certain things. Even though they're off the grid, you can have encrypted services, again, anonymous browsing on the internet, and anonymous currency like Bitcoin, and still live off the grid.
That's very interesting.
So that's what this session is all about, and trust us as surveillance and security experts. We want you guys to understand, it's very easy to track and trace and follow people and such. So if you're considering getting off the grid, we understand perfectly, because a lot of people are just so fed up with the government and various other individuals snooping in on your life with the cameras, the microphones, and the trackers. Right.
Yep. So anyway, we appreciate your viewing. This is DPL signing off. It's DPL Surveillance. We're open 24/7, 365. We have lifetime guarantee and warranty on all our products. We have listening devices, nanny cameras, trackers, anti-terrorists. So go ahead and look at our website. I'm sure you'll find something you can use.
Okay, and as we always say, invite a friend, a relative, enemy, associate, anyone. Bring them to these sessions and share. Let's see, Aaron Hurst. Welcome, Aaron. We had a person who just joined.
Oh, hi, Aaron.
At the end, but welcome. And bring a friend, relative, enemy, associate, anyone to these particular sessions and share it out. Because, again, dropping off the grid is becoming very, very popular now, if you will. And I think it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to be looking into in the very near future, as governments and such try to crack down on what you can do, how you can do it, how much money you can have or not have or something. And we just want to let people know that, this is going on right now, and look into it and read our articles. Go to our website, dpo-surveillance-equipment.com, and take a look at this information, okay?
Yeah, we're streaming this live on Facebook, so you can go ahead and look at the whole avocado on Facebook.
So you guys take care, and thanks for joining us, and we'll put this on, of course, on YouTube, and so you'll be able to check out the replay as much as you want, okay?
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, thanks. Take care. Bye.